Well, hello there. I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Leapin.
And welcome to another edition of Our City Tonight.
We're here at Hubcast, the home of our production partners.
That's right, Lita. Lots to do in the show, so let's get right to
Our City Tonight.
Here's your dad's brother, Jordy. You been driving all night?
So anyway, keep going down this way. We have...
She is a writer, director, producer, and also, we're proud to say, a graduate of the Vancouver Film School. Honors graduate, I should say. Her new movie is called Still the Water. It is available now on digital platforms. She is coming to us from the great province of PEI. It is a pleasure to welcome Susan Rogers to Our City Tonight. Susan, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. Congratulations on this new film. It's available now for our viewers. Still the Water. I watched it last night. These movies really do resonate with people because everybody's got a bit of drama, a bit of history in their family. And I wrote this down, that this movie is about small towns, family history, and as one of your characters says, burying hurt. Tell us about the characters and this lead protagonist, Jordy, who reluctantly comes back to his small town.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's ultimately a story about brothers and about a family that just reconnects many years after a tragedy tore them apart. And Jordy is a character who has nowhere left to go. He's, as he says fairly clearly, I guess, at some points in the film, have nowhere left to go. Like, he's bottomed out. So he heads back to PEI because he has no other options in his life. And he's carrying a lot of hurt, but so is his older brother, Nicky. And they're just trying to figure things out, and burying hurt, of course, is a big part of that. It's not an easy thing to do, but that's the story.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because, there's kind of this rule of thumb when you're writing books, screenplays, is that it's wonderful when you have this, not wonderful, but it's. I think you get the audience more on your side when your protagonist is really at his lowest state. As you said, he's a former semi-pro hockey player, Jordy is, comes home. There's nowhere to go but up for this guy, and I'm instantly on this guy's side. I know he's got a lot of stuff to deal with, but I love the fact that you set him up that way where there's nowhere to go but up and deal with all this family, including his father. Talk a bit about his father, because I thought you really crafted an interesting, less stereotypical father character. I don't want to give away much, but I really found that character interesting as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want to sort of dive too much into his story. He's kind of a background player, but at the same time, his silence, I think, speaks a lot. He's somebody who has probably suffered as much as his sons, although he was also the cause of the suffering. So right. He was an interesting character to write about. And I think even though he's kind of a quiet man, he has quite a presence on screen. And I think we understand and feel, his journey of pain as well in the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of, as you said, pain. I mean, obviously that's running through the thing, but I just love what you did with that character, because I've seen that character portrayed the same way in many different movies, and he is a different character. Speaking of characters, one of the things I've always loved about David Lean movies, Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai, Zhivago, is that he incorporates the music and the landscape as they're almost characters themselves, and you've really done that with PEI and the maritime music. Talk a bit about the process of writing the script and keeping that kind of in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I like to take a lot of car drives. In PEI, I live in Sunnyside, which is like an hour away from the bigger city, Charlottetown, and so I take a lot of drives to Charlottetown, and I listen to music, and I'm one of those writers that music really helps a scene unfold, and it was also important to me to utilize as many, Prince Edward Island and Atlantic Canadian singer-songwriters as I could, because I really wanted to get their work out there. So, I would craft a screen as I drove, and I've written a book series too. It's all about music. Music is just so important to me. So music really does become a character in the film, and it was really fun to to visualize those scenes in my head back at the writing stage with the music in mind, and then have it all play out and work exactly as I pictured. So I was really pleased with that, just that journey and the messages in the music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the content is quite dramatic, but it's quite a travel log, too, for PEI tourism, because it is quite stunning to see this serene setting, but all this pain in the middle of it with the family. Hey, last question for you. I always like to ask people like yourself, what was really the first thing that you saw that made you think, I want to do this?
The first film that I saw that made me want to do
first
this.
film, first TV series, first actor, first director. You're a writer as well, as you mentioned. What did you first see that made you think, I want to do that?
You know, as a child, I think my mother got tired sometimes of having 4 small children under feet, so she used to send my brother and I, at least the 2 oldest, off to the theater. We went to matinees probably every Saturday and sometimes every Sunday too, as kids. You know, for like 50 cents, which is totally aging myself. But at the same time, you know, movies like Escape to Witch Mountain, like they fired my imagination. I mean, it's going way, way back, but. You know, after that, you know, movies like Almost Famous just made me hungry to make that kind of film. Anything to do with a lot of music in it, I think. But yeah.
That's great, actually. You know, we've been doing this show 5 years, and I can guarantee you the next 5 years, no one will make reference to Escape from Witch Mountain. But you are speaking to the aged choir. I remember that movie and going to see it as a kid as well. Hey, Susan Rogers, thank you so much for joining us. The new movie is Still the Water, which is available on all digital platforms now. Still the Water, movie.ca for more information. Susan, we look forward to seeing you again and your next film for sure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, sticking with the movie theme, Lita and I, we have some more great selections in another movie review segment. As our viewers say, keep giving us more of these because everybody's still staying home and binging. Okay, my first selection, Lita, I'll kick things off, is what I think is the best cop drama I have ever seen. It comes to us from the UK, England's Line of Duty. I binged the first 5 seasons last year about this time when the pandemic started. This is, simply put, the best cop drama I have ever seen. It centers around a group of people in their anti-corruption department, which is their version of internal affairs. Back are all the favorites. Martin Compston is back as Steve Arnott. We've got Kate Fleming, Detective Kate Fleming, Vicky McClure. This time they are investigating the department by DCI Joanna Davison, who is the always spectacular Kelly MacDonald. You may remember her from Boardwalk Empire. It's her department. This is just a spectacular show. The guy that wrote this, Jed Mercurial, he's the force behind 2016's Emmy-winning Bodyguard, 2010's Strike Back, and a ton of other stuff. I'll tell you what, I got to quote Lucy Mangan from the Guardian newspaper in London, who says, quote, "As ever, nothing is wasted, not a scene, not a line, not a beat. For every morsel of information gathered by the team and by the viewer, another turn reveals 100 hidden possibilities." Folks, season 6 of Line of Duty is coming your way May 16th. On BritBox, which has become one of my favorite networks, Lita. I got to tell you, I've been trying to get you into this, and I know you'll binge it. It's Line of Duty, 1 through 5 available now. Obviously, look for season 6, the best cop drama I have ever seen. Season 6 available on BritBox on May 18th. Lita.
Great. Well, my binge-worthy choice is The Serpent. It's actually a co-production of BBC One and Netflix. It involves, it's an 8-part true crime drama series that takes place in Asia between 1975 and 2000. It's based on the story of a real-life con man and serial killer, Charles Sobrage. He's a Vietnamese Indian Frenchman who murdered at least a dozen young hippie tourists on that hippie trail as people were traveling throughout that time. It is starring Tahar Rahim. He's an Algerian French actor who actually, I have to put in this point, he's also starring in the Mauritanian, and he was nominated for a Golden Globe. Now, in The Serpent, Tahar plays Charles Sobrage. He's partnered with Marie-Andre Leclerc, played by English actress Jenna Coleman, who portrays the Quebecois Canadian tourist who falls for this charming con man and assists him in all his crimes. Now, the series is 8 parts. It goes back in time a little bit too often. It's a little kind of hard to focus sometimes, but if you can keep all the timelines straight, it really is gripping. I love that I read about this. The story actually may seem unbelievable, but the creators actually had to temper the real history of this con man to fit it all into this 8-part series. So again, crazy show, crazy crimes. If you like the assassination of Gianni Versace, if you binge that on Netflix, you'll probably like this as well. It's a pretty incredible true crime drama.
All right, well, I like the Versace, so. Okay, our last selection was actually released in January, if you can believe it or not, in a movie theater. It made some money there, but now it's available on digital and VOD. It is Liam Neeson. Boy, we're really struggling with our words today. Liam Neeson is what I'm trying to say, in The Marksman. Lita, you and I've talked about this before. You can really measure Liam's career Taken in 2008 and post Taken. He had a great career going before Taken, but it really opened up new offers and new roles from after that. And he's been kind of playing the same role for the last 12, 13 years. In this movie, he plays an Arizona rancher who has a ranch right near the Mexican border. And he becomes the unlikely defender of a young Mexican boy who is desperately fleeing the cartel assassins who are pursuing him. We won't say why. And they pursue him right into the U.S. And I guess you and I both agree that this is kind of a less on the offense, aggressive character he had from Taken, and more on the defensive, just trying to get the kid to Chicago where his relatives live.
Oh, well, I liken it more to he's playing kind of more of a Clint Eastwood older role where he's just, trying to protect.
Yeah.
And, there's not as much action, obviously, as you mentioned. But he's getting older. He sure looks great still.
Yeah, he does, yeah. Yeah, he can certainly defend himself, but there's nowhere near the way over the top aggressive action of the Taken movies. But look for The Marksman, Liam Neeson. Always like watching him in movies. It's available now on VOD and digital. Those are our movie suggestions. We hope you enjoy what we picked.
This New Zealand Spotlight is brought to you by our friends at New Zealand Trade and Enterprise.
Well, that's right. It is another New Zealand Spotlight here in May. And joining us now, Lita, I'm kind of excited about this because she has not been on our show for, I think, literally 12 months. She is coming to us from a Friday morning in Auckland, New Zealand. It is a great pleasure to welcome back, as we celebrate New Zealand wine, Charlotte Reid from the New Zealand Wine Growers. Charlotte, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be back here.
Now, Charlotte, we're going to jump right into it. May is Sauvignon Blanc month, but we're going to talk about a few other things as well. There's 60 BC liquor stores right now that are featuring New Zealand wines for the month of May. That does include, of course, Rosé, Chardonnay, as well as Pinot Noir. But of course, since it is Sauvignon Blanc month, tell us a little bit about why New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is such a top seller. It's the top selling white wine in Canada.
That's right. New Zealand has led the growth of Sauvignon Blanc around the world. And I understand not only New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is the best-selling wine, but it's the fastest growing wine in Canada. So it's fabulous to see that support. And there's no other country that has such a predominant planting of one grape variety like Sauvignon Blanc. And our cool climate in the South Pacific is perfectly suited to the expression of this zesty grape variety. And 5 million glasses of it are enjoyed around the world every day. Lots of those in Canada, which we're excited about. So it represents 80% of our exports, and it is what's launched New Zealand wine onto the international stage. And it's just a perfectly zesty, fresh wine with amazing aromas that pairs with so many different types of food. So I think it's its versatility and freshness and purity that the world loves.
Charlotte, I think I said to you last year that as you mentioned, Sauv Blanc's so popular, but many Canadians don't realize you have a lot of other great wines because you've got so many great regions in New Zealand, including Marlborough, which most people don't know. Can you talk a bit about the diversity of the wines you offer that are all in all liquor stores here, private stores here, the diversity of the regions and what they each region can offer Canadian wine drinkers?
Absolutely. I probably should have a map to hand, but New Zealand is a very long, skinny country, 2,000 kilometres in length. the North Island and the South Island, and Marlborough at the top of the South Island is what is probably most commonly seen in Canada, but there's so many other incredible regions to discover. I myself come from Hawke's Bay, the oldest wine producing region in New Zealand. I was brought up on a vineyard there, but we have Hawke's Bay with not just white wines, but incredible rich red wines made out of Merlot, Cabernet, Syrah. Martinborough, just above our capital city, Wellington, also is a fabulous producer of Sauvignon Blanc, as well as great expressions of Pinot Noir. Here in Auckland even, we're a warmer climate comparatively, being at the top of the country, but you have some incredible expressions of Chardonnay especially. And then when you go in further down to the South Island, you've got North Canterbury, you've got Central Otago, which is a treasure trove for Pinot Noir. But you do find Sauvignon Blanc largely planted across the country, as well as our most widely planted red grape variety, Pinot Noir.
So, Charlotte, also, why is Canada so important to New Zealand wines and wine production?
Canada is our fourth largest export market, and what we love about exporting to Canada is that you understand that we're more than just one grape. You have a great selection of wines from New Zealand on your shelves and on your wine list, which we're excited about. Canada appreciates the premium wines, so we love that we can get very good price points for our wines in Canada, which is fabulous.
Hey, let's talk a bit about something that wineries are paying more and more attention to over the last decade or so. Carbon footprint and your goal for 2050. Tell our viewers a bit about that.
So in New Zealand, we're a world leader in sustainability in the wine industry. We were the first wine producing nation to introduce a sustainability program back in 1995, so getting on now, and we are committed to being carbon neutral, carbon zero by 2050, and 96% of our vineyard area is certified sustainable, with a good portion of that being certified organic. So looking after the land for future generations, and when we talk sustainability, we don't talk just about caring the environment, we're also talking about sustainability from a people perspective as well.
And since it's Sauvignon Blanc month, the month of May, we're going to talk about how great the BC seafood goes with this great wine. Can you touch on some of the tasting points, Charlotte?
Yes, well, there's so many parallels between New Zealand and Canada. You've got lovely coastal locations producing spot crab was something that...
spot prawns.
Spot prawns, sorry, I'm getting that wrong. Here in New Zealand, salmon, oysters, mussels would be what we would pair with Sauvignon Blanc. Goat's cheese, if you're not a seafood lover, is also an incredible pair with Sauvignon Blanc. But I think that the freshness of your seafood would pair beautifully. And I understand there's lots of fabulous storytelling happening for Sauvignon Blanc in the Canadian market. So I encourage you all to tune in.
Hey, Charlotte, it's been great to have you on the show again. We really thought that perhaps we'd be seeing you in person, maybe here or in New Zealand a year after we did our first interview with you. But we want to thank you for joining us. And I never said this to anybody on camera before, but I want to thank you and Lita for joining us in my apartment.
Jim's swanky bachelor pad. We get a little glimpse of all the books the great films that he has all around us.
And Lita's got the key to my liquor cabinet, so I'm never going to be able to get it off her. Hey, thank you for joining us. And again, as we said to you last year, we look forward to having you in Vancouver at some point. It's be great to see you and do another interview with you across the table from some of your great wines.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte.
Thank you, Charlotte. It's Charlotte Reid, the marketing manager at the New Zealand Wine Growers, and part of our fabulous Sauvignon Blanc New Zealand Wine Month for May here on Our City Tonight.
This New Zealand Spotlight has been brought to you by our friends at New Zealand Trade and Enterprise.
It's time for another Inside Health segment, and we are joined today on Our City Tonight with Dr. Harbeer Sayan. For those of you that watch the show, you'll recognize Dr. Harbeer as our eye care expert, who hails from High Street Eye Care Center in Abbotsford. Welcome. We love having this great optometrist on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. Always love being on the show.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Well, we're going to talk about a couple serious topics today. Of course, eye care is very serious. Allergies is our first topic, and a lot of people are suffering. Tell us some of the symptoms of that you get from allergies in your eyes.
Yeah, it's this time of year, of course, when the flowers are blooming and the trees are getting their leaves. We see a lot of people coming in, steady train of people coming in daily with mostly watery eyes, itchy eyes, maybe the most common symptom, but redness and swelling around the eyes. You know, when it's kids, often parents will bring kids in saying, my child keeps rubbing his or her eyes.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, so these are the most common symptoms we'll find this time of year. And of course, it's related to our standard seasonal allergy, you know, allergens in the air that are causing these irritation in our eyes.
A lot of these pollens. So what would you suggest people do to treat the discomfort?
Well, the most common thing, you know, simple thing that you can do at home is to put something cold on your eyes. A cool compress can do a lot to dull the reaction that we're getting from allergies, and that's especially important for children to help prevent them from rubbing their eyes. You know, artificial tears over the counter can be quite effective as well, but being very careful about which ones you select, because there are some that we don't really recommend. I would say the number one thing if you're looking for an over-the-counter artificial tear is to look for something that's preservative-free. All right, and that's safe then for most adults and most kids to use. And the number one thing I would suggest that patients don't do is don't rub your eyes.
Okay.
All right, rubbing our eyes can cause some other downstream effects that we want to avoid, and that's especially important for kids who have that tendency to want to stick their fist in their eye all the time.
Can you put too much eye drops in?
There is such a thing as putting too much, but again, when you're doing preservative-free, you are limiting the risk of any kind of side effects.
Fantastic. Well, now that summer is approaching too, we're going to get into the next topic, and that is people are starting to think about putting sunscreen on their skin. But I don't think we discuss enough the fact that the sunlight can damage our eyes. And can you tell us a little bit about, first off, what is UV light, ultraviolet light, and what it does to your eyes?
Absolutely. So ultraviolet light is on the short wavelength end of the spectrum, meaning it's very high energy. And that higher energy wavelength, shorter wavelength, can penetrate under the skin. It can penetrate into our eyes and therefore cause a lot more damage than what we would consider visible light, one of the different colors that we can actually visibly see. And so we take UV light very seriously. As you said, we tend to, you know, cover our skin and use a sunscreen, but it's really, really important for us to discuss how that UV light can affect our eyes as well.
So what are the symptoms of eye damage?
Well, there's a whole host of different conditions, and there's some that are affecting our eyes externally on the surface of our eyes. Those kinds of conditions are similar to getting sunburn on the outer surface of our eyes. But the more long-term effects that we are always watching for and trying to limit the risk for are things like cataracts and macular degeneration, which can cause long-term visual changes.
Yeah, and there's some sun damage that is irreversible, so it's so important, obviously, to get protection. And that's my next question. What is the best protection, and what should you do to, well, best prevention?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I'd like to add just, we often think about ourselves as adults and protecting our eyes and reducing the risk of these conditions, but it's equally, if not more important, to protect our kids as well. The lens in our eye is completely clear when we're young, and that actually allows more UV light to penetrate into the eye. And it's estimated that I believe about 50% of our UV exposure happens before the age of 18.
Wow.
Our lifetime exposure, 50% of that happens before the age of 18. So wearing sunglasses would be the first step, and a good quality pair of sunglasses is key.
And you were mentioning 100% UV or UV 400 is usually the best choices.
Exactly right. So you always want to make sure you're looking for something that is 100% UVA, UVB, and that will then make sure you're getting the protection that you need. There are certain coatings and things that can help for visual comfort, anti-reflective coatings, polarization, things like that are more for visual comfort. But the 100% UV protection is the thing that you want to look for.
Wonderful. And sort of the last question, how often would you recommend that we get eye exams?
Absolutely. For adults, we recommend adults and children, we recommend annual eye exams. And for anybody who, these days who's suffering from allergies or any other types of eye symptoms, we as optometrists are always welcoming patients to come in for those checkups, partial checkups, and we're able to prescribe eye drops or other things as needed as well.
Perfect. Great. And you want to just finish off on your charitable organization that you are now involved with?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. I'm very excited to announce the news will be coming out very soon that I'll be taking the lead on an organization called the Lensbox Foundation. And I'll be the director of that. And we have 3 mandates. Our goal in general is to really provide eye care to those who need it, but to make the world a better place in as many ways as we can. So we're providing charitable outreach type eye care in rural areas, but we're also providing mental health resources for optometrists and eye care providers who require those services. And we are also working on initiatives to help reduce the environmental impact of the eye care industry.
You're always doing some great things, and thank you. So we have Dr. Harbir Sayan, optometrist with High Street Eye Care Center in Abbotsford. All of Harbir's information will be in the credits at the end of the show. Thanks, Harbir.
Thank you.
Well, we're back here at Hubcast Studios, home of our production partners, where we began the show, and it's time to wrap the show up.
But before we go, we want to let you know that you can reach out to us through all of our social media, send us comments and ideas at Our City Tonight on Instagram, Twitter, as well as our Facebook page. And also, don't forget, all past episodes are available on our YouTube channel.
Well said. I'm Jim Gordon.
I'm Lita Leapins.
We'll see you on the next edition of Our City Tonight. Adam, go to that other camera right there. He goes.
Outdoor wear for Jim and Lita provided by Helly Hansen, alive since 1877.
Soluzione Spa Products, a national luxury spa product distribution company located in North Vancouver, British Columbia. They have been successfully supplying and supporting spas across the country since 1991.